Well, today marks 1 year since Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi was murdered inside the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul. His friends at the Post are honoring him with a message to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Quote, Khashoggi was right, is the title. Senior global opinions editor for the Washington Post, Eli Lopez, joins me now from Washington. So, Eli, Jamal Khashoggi warned the world about Mohammed bin Salman even before many folks knew that he was a threat. In the op-ed, the Washington Post says Khashoggi has been vindicated after his death. How so?
Indeed, Jamal was a person that was trying to push to have an open conversation in debate in Saudi Arabia about modernizing and opening spaces for opposition, for democratic ideas, for a balance of power. And essentially, he warned about Mohammed bin Salman's reckless conduct and the war in Yemen, for example. He was very critical of that. He was also critical of his efforts at censoring his critics. The reason why Jamal had to leave Saudi Arabia and take residence here in Washington. So Jamal pushed for these ideas, and in the end, he was right. Mohammed bin Salman has tried to sell this idea of being a reformer and a force for modernizing Saudi Arabia, when in reality, he's been the opposite. And the brutal state-sponsored murder of Jamal Khashoggi proves that he is exactly what Jamal warned. Jamal was coming from a place of patriotism, from a place of caring deeply for Saudi Arabia, and he was offering criticism to the prince in an effort to get him to seek a better way for his nation. Well, the response was just brutal and barbaric.
It was brutal, it was barbaric, and it was advice that the prince did not want, as we all know. Khashoggi had advice for bin Salman. What was that, and how does it still resonate today?
Well, we know that Jamal was a respected and admired voice, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in the Arab world and beyond. In our special section today, we highlight the voices of people from Yemen, from Egypt, from Turkey, all around the region that engaged in Jamal in one way or another. They some of them agreed with him, some disagreed, but they all valued that he was a person that was willing to engage in this very important debates about democratic values, about the introduction of systems of freedom of expression, of changes in a region that we know is marked by autocratic regimes that more and more are presenting themselves as intolerant to critics of themselves. So Jamal was trying to get people talking. He's trying to talk about the role of Islam, to talk about the role of democracy, about giving voices to critics and citizens. And these were all things that are not going away. I mean, in fact, we have a whole generation of people, of activists who are online, taking up these conversations and spreading the message.
You know, somebody who doesn't really talk often is Prince Mohammed bin Salman, but just in the past week, he's had 2 interviews come out where he said he takes responsibility for Khashoggi's death, but the op-ed board at the Washington Post says that he hasn't. And what would you say that he needs to do so that it would come off as though he has taken some form of responsibility?
Well, he has not done anything. He's just paying lip service to this line of taking responsibility, when in fact they have lied from the very beginning. They have been forced to recognize the brutality of this crime that was orchestrated by high level officials. One of the things that they could do concretely would be to open these trials that are taking place in Saudi Arabia right now in complete secrecy. Of people allegedly accused of being involved in this crime, but we don't know who these people are. We don't know the evidence. So we're thinking that if he were sincere about taking responsibility, he would allow international observers and other governments to participate and observe these trials, to gain access to the evidence that they have. I mean, we still don't know a lot of things. We don't know what happened to Jamal's body. Mm-hmm. We don't know who's really involved, but we have a very, very clear idea, because of intelligence assessments, that this was ordered and orchestrated by the prince, or it couldn't have happened. So there's a lot that they could do. I think they have been hoping that this goes away, and especially on our end, it will not. go
Yeah,
away.
the pressure has continuously been on. But, you know, Mohammed bin Salman is still holding on to power very tightly. The Washington Post writes that ultimately they believe he will face what they're calling here a precipitous crash. Why do you believe that to be true?
Well, if anything is to come out of this tragic and horrible thing that happened to our friend and colleague, is that there's a conversation about Saudi Arabia and its leadership. There's a conversation about the United States' close relationship with this leader, the nature of his rule, his decision making. I mean, all of those things are now called into question. He represents a threat more than an ally for stability in a crucial region of the world, where the United States needs to have a partner that can be trustworthy, that can be reliable, and that can be, quite frankly, principled and a person that's worthy of admiration, not a person that will orchestrate something this heinous against the critics. So we are seeing that this is a leader that is not even willing to recognize and be open about something this horrible, but it's also carrying out a wave of repression against women activists, against critics online, and also carrying out a disastrous war that is destabilizing even their own oil facilities that we saw recently. So we're seeing that the Saudi Arabia partnership and the leadership of Saudi Arabia are unreliable, are erratic, and are dangerous, quite frankly.
Eli Lopez, 1 year after Jamal Khashoggi was killed today. I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.